How's it going, everybody? Austin Carter here with Attack Line Leather. In today's Tooling Tuesday, it was requested that I tool up something that basically kind of mimics traditional tattoo art, kind of that traditional Americana style. And so that's what I decided to do today. I found this skull, cowboy skull, on the internet, just some free art. So if you want to just Google it. Just Google some free tattoo vectors. That's where I got that from. And then I just drew in everything around it. Got a little cactus in there, of course, and more of a traditional tattoo flower. And then I just threw in a little bit of um, Sheridan style tooling, I guess, right there next to it. And so in this video, I'm going to kind of go over what tools I'm using in the areas that I'm tooling. So this is kind of a longer video just because I'm going to take the time to do that. And I hope you all follow along. I hope you enjoy it. This is probably going to be a two-part video. The second part is going to be how I dye and paint it, because um, that's kind of part of that kind of style, that traditional tattoo style, is the different layers of colors and everything that you can do to this. And so at the end, you'll see it's kind of plain looking, and it does give off that traditional vibe. But I think adding in some paint and dye and color will really make it um, fill out and really look like a traditional style, you know, tattoo. So right now I'm cutting everything out with my Berry King swivel knife. It's a half-inch barrel with a quarter-inch straight blade. Just really like that. I've kind of used that with all of my um, different swivel knives. Right now I'm using a craft tool. What is that? I got them right here, so I got to read them off. I haven't memorized everything yet. Uh, S632. It's just like a little cedar. I'm just cutting in some flowers here real quick. If you're wondering what kind of leather I'm using about a 9 to 10 ounce piece of Herman Oak vegetable tan leather. And as you can see, I'm taping the back of it with some blue painter's tape. You've probably seen me do this in most of my other videos, but for those new to the channel, that allows a deeper impression when you stamp, and it also prevents your leather from stretching as you displace it when you stamp. And so when I do any heavy tooling, I generally tape the back of my projects. Right now I'm doing the beveling, and I'm using a Berry King. I believe it's their Berry King has such a weird like sizing chart. They don't really have like numbers like Craft Tool does, but I think this is kind of like their larger beveler. Um, and then I switch between the larger bevelers and the kind of their medium beveler. The medium beveler I do like I'm using it right now to kind of go through like the tighter turns and everything like that. I use their larger beveler generally for like long straight um, runs. I just find that it's easier to use it that way, and I don't really enjoy making like turns with it because they are kind of squared off at the ends, and if you don't hold it at the right angle, you can start getting kind of like beveled cut patterns or cut marks. All right, and now I'm taking uh, the Berry King lifters. I think this is their number 4, and what I'm doing is I'm really kind of getting into the areas where I want to accentuate the skull. And so what this allows me to do is like I'm getting in there with the eyes and kind of the crevices of the skull to make them stand out and pop a little bit more. It really gives that 3D impression. and then I just kind of rotate with my lifters. This is a number 2 or 3, and I just kind of use the size appropriate to the curvature of where I want to lift and get that raised effect, as you can see. And this is a craft tool lifter, and I am not sure what number it is, but I have 3 Berry Kings from, I think it's the 4, 3, and 2, and then I have a small craft tool lifter. Those are generally all I use as far as that, and I'll use those on curves where I really want to separate the the background, and you can see I'm using that a lot on this skull. There's a lot of good curves that I can stamp into that give it that deep impression and that 3D effect. As far as my flow goes, I generally try and do like all of my beveling at one time, or just have a have a process of where I go through one thing or another. But for this project, I kind of was bouncing all over the place. I did a bit of beveling, and then I was like, I'm going to work on parts of the skull. And generally, though, I do most of my beveling at the same time. Then, like a lot of my thumbprint shading, and then my backgrounding and decorative cuts, and it kind of goes in that order. But for this project, I was just kind of bouncing around, having fun with it. There's a lot of different um, pieces to it, and so I was just kind of enjoying the process, working on different aspects of it. When I'm beveling, I really try to feather my bevels. Excuse me. And what that means is, as you can see, like right here, I'm starting off real soft, and this kind of depends on the direction you're beveling, but I'll start off either really heavy or really soft and try to taper out and match my swivel knife cuts. And that's, really the key to having a good bevel, is having a nice sharp swivel knife with correct, perpendicular cuts, so that the beveler can push away or push down the leather away from the cuts to get that 3D effect. Here I either forgot to hit record or I missed something, but what I did for the teeth is took a lifter, and underneath the gums I kind of lifted them up to kind of give like a deeper impression, and then just beveled the top teeth to where they were kind of like at an overhang, and that's how I did the teeth. Sorry I didn't capture that footage, rookie mistake. Now I'm moving on to the thumbprint shading. I use a Craft Tool Pro thumb printer, and that's the P2621, and it's a vertical line thumbprint. I really enjoy it. It's kind of like a, I don't know, medium to small thumbprint, and I use it a ton. I probably use it every single tooling project that I do, and it is just extremely versatile in getting there and really adding in some good shading, and really just accentuating the 3D effect of whatever you're tooling. And so here you can see I'm using it to kind of shade up my flower. I'm not doing a heavy shade, I'm just getting kind of a 3D effect in there, um, just because I'm trying to keep it as traditional as possible. And in this flower, at least, there's not a lot of that, like those heavy dark lines that the thumbprint can generally push in. And right now I'm just kind of shading up the areas of the skull's bandana, and just trying to give depth to like the folds of the bandana and the wrinkles. And as you can see, I'm utilizing both ends of that thumbprint stamp, and I really find that um, when I switch back and forth, it's either a smaller area or a larger area that I'm trying to reach. And so you'll see me switch back and forth to kind of get the effect. The other thing that I really focus on when I am using the thumbprint is rotating it with my thumb and index and pointer finger. And I'm kind of rolling the stamp so that it flows with the direction that I'm trying to shade in. And so it's one of my favorite tools to use, really. I mean, it really starts separating your project. And so I always recommend to people to get a good thumbprint stamp, or a couple, so that you can use it in that way. You see I'm kind of shading up the hat and giving it some dimension and depth. I've never really used pear shaders, but pear shaders can also be a good tool to do that. So here I am, I'm going to start doing some decorative cuts, and as we kind of move forward in this video, again, I'm kind of jumping around. There's a lot more stamping that needs to be done, but I was, I kind of get shiny object syndrome sometime, and I saw the leaves, and I'm like, I'm gonna start tooling up those leaves. So I didn't, other than beveling them, I didn't do any extra tooling other than the decorative cuts, and so it's just a simple, stem line down the middle, with the little cuts on either side. And I think when it gets painted and then antiqued, those leaves will really pop. As far as tooling up, um, the little floral tooling right there, I kept it pretty simple on this one, adding some decorative cuts. And I really like cross hatching. As you can tell, I think it really gives just a cool feel, and especially when it's antiqued, it just to me it's just like one of the cool aspects of the the tooling, and I think it really kind of draws the eye to different parts of the tooling. And again, it's just kind of a style that I've gravitated towards. So in tooling the cactus, again, I didn't, other than the beveling, I didn't do any heavy shading or anything like that. Again, trying to keep the traditional look, and a lot of traditional style cactuses that I saw really just had a lot of um, straight line work in them, and very basic um, spines. And so you see here, I'm just kind of um, creating the look of the traditional cactus, I believe. So pretty simple. I think I probably would have done the flowers a little different. Maybe just using like a flower center instead of trying to tool out the flowers. I wasn't extremely happy with them, but it's all a learning process, and half of what leathercraft is learning how to make better decisions. And so this was a learning step for me, and next time I will make a different decision on how I do those flowers. Again, they might turn out completely different when they're painted up, and I might end up liking them. But as of right now, I feel like I could have done something a little different. As far as cactus spines go, what I do is I just really tilt my beveler up and I'm pressing down. So I'm not cutting, I'm just allowing the pointy edge of the blade to just press down into the leather, and it kind of creates those small little triangles, which I think yield pretty nice cactus spines. Here I'm using a backgrounder. Normally I use a bar grounder, but today I decided just to use like a matting backgrounder, and I believe this actually is a tool I got from Hobby Lobby and just one of their packs. I've had this one forever, but I've just kind of liked how it stamps. And that is the A104, and again I believe I got that from Hobby Lobby. Um, so yep, you can get stamps and some leather supplies from Hobby Lobby. At least you can at mine in Victoria, Texas. And some are good, some are real cheap, but I have found little diamonds in the rough. Every once in a while they'll have a tool in there that you won't see every day. And since I don't have a leather shop or a Tandy Leather really near me, I kind of pick up what I can where I can. And so, when I was starting out, I had this backgrounder, and I've just kind of enjoyed it when I do utilize it. And here I'm just kind of backgrounding and giving some depth and separation between my tooling or my um, floral design and the skull, and just kind of giving that dimension and separating, the background from the foreground. How I use that backgrounder is I just kind of walk it, and I haven't found that it really yields kind of like a mushy or kind of like just ground up leather burger effect. And if you just go over and smooth everything out, it kind of yields like a really um, nice quality background. Again, here I am bouncing around. I'm using my thumbprint again, and what I'm using it for now is to kind of smooth out the bevel that I did around the hat and around the border of the project. And what I'm trying to accomplish with this is almost have like a seamless effect and not have that kind of hard bevel look. And then just to kind of finish it off to make sure everything's kind of smoothed out, because you'll get some chatter marks with a thumbprint. I'm using a Craft Tool Pro modeling spoon to kind of smooth out everything and get rid of the chatter marks from that thumbprint. And then back again with my backgrounder, um, I'm going in here and kind of matting down where the nose and the skull eyes are. And in the next video, I will probably be dyeing those a darker color, probably black, and that'll just really show how inset they are and really start giving it that cool 3D effect. And from here on out, guys, I'm just going to throw in some little decorative cuts, kind of work on that hat band a little bit. Again, all these cuts I'm focused on, and I'm always forward thinking about what will it look antiqued. That's kind of the goal of my decorative cuts, is to bring character and kind of a bit of life and just more dimension to the art piece. And so I'm always thinking about what something will look like when it's antiqued, because that's really the purpose of most decorative cuts. And we'll get more into that process on the part 2 of this video, because I really do want to paint and dye it up. I think it'll really look good. And so you'll see my process, and I'll start from dyeing and painting it to tan coating and antiquing it and tan coating again, and kind of finishing it off. And it'll be generally the process that I use for most of my projects. I still do get a lot of questions about my antiquing and painting and dyeing process and everything that is involved in that. I do have a video on that in my list of videos. It's probably a year or two back, but if you have any questions about that, you can take a peek. Alright guys, this is pretty much tooled up for me. I'm kind of happy with it. I'll get to painting it. Appreciate y'all watching. I hope y'all have a great day.